Hello folks, it's Rich here. How are you doing? I thought we'd have a quick few minutes catch up if you've got 2 minutes. So, let's talk. What's going on with guitars? Well, you can see there are 3 there, my Harley Benton semi-acoustic in the background. The Chapman ML1X I've decided not to keep. Not so much because it needs the fret sorting out and a little bit of a setup. It's not a biggie, it's a little bit too close to this beauty, really. It's I love how the neck feels on this one. It's a bit smoother on the back on the ML1X because it's not finished. There's a very light lacquer on this one, not a lot, but this one's it's set up a bit better. The frets are a bit more warnings, it's a bit older, and yeah, it just feels a bit nicer. Obviously it hasn't got a humbucker in the bridge, so that is still very much my Chapman go-to Strat. And it sounds good. The ML1X, I bought it on a bit of a whim really because I was after a Chapman and I still am kind of humbucker. And ideally 24 frets so I can play some heavier stuff, so I can start Jason Stallworth's Metal Apprentice course. So probably going to be an ML3 standard, I would think, ML3 modern standard I'm looking for, I think. So I think that's what's going on with guitars. I'm considering changing the pickups in my lovely Harley Benton SC Goto. I don't dislike them, but I fancy something a touch higher output. So yeah, so they might change, but we'll see. Nothing's happening with this apart from me dropping the action down a little bit more for me. Absolutely love that guitar. Yeah, so that's kind of guitars. Amp, I didn't do a video on my Boss Katana Mark 150 because there are millions of them on, everyone knows what they're like, but it's about my 20th amp. I went back to the Boss. A couple of things really. I just wanted a 12-inch speaker, the Marshall that Sarah bought me for when we were living apart, and I would come here and she bought it, so I had something to play when I came around to her house. Is an 8-inch speaker, I think. Was it a 10-inch? That's an 8-inch. And it sounds good for what it is, but it's just not as rich as it, and not quite as oomphy as the Boss, of course. It's a different animal. And I got the Mark 1 because it's a little bit simpler on the top than the Mark 2. Not that the Mark 2 is overly complicated, but you know me. So yeah, so it just gives you a bit more oomph. It's detached house as well, so you can put it on as loud as I like, which is nice. So I've had it on 50 watts on about half volume. Bloody hellfire. Whee, yeah, it's loud. And it takes pedals well. Brings me on to pedals. I've sold 3 of them. Another 3 are up for sale, and the only one I'm keeping is my Behringer Overdrive. It's the first one I bought, and I still like it. I've got a soft spot for it. I'm actually going to be buying a Boss ME-80 processor board. Now, I know we've been down the processor board route before without success because I haven't got much patience. But the pedals that I had, the ones that I've sold, the Donna delay pedal, wasn't crazy about that, no matter how I set it. I mean, I know a lot of people like it, isn't it? It's individual, depends what you want. Wasn't wild for that. Same with the reverb pedal. I wasn't mad about those. So I'm thinking, oh, what else do I want to do? And anyway, the Boss ME-80's come up a few times, a bit of an older one now, and you can do a mixture of things with that. It's reasonably intuitive on the top. There's like overdrive, delay, modulation, a few different settings, so you can play around with them, save them. It's got loads of presets, or you can do your own, or you can just have a little play manually. And the individual pedals, there are 8 of them, as well as an expression pedal. You can just use those as click it on as an overdrive, click it on as your modulation. So as far as feeling a bit like a pedal board goes, I think it's probably one of the more straightforward ones. And certainly the Studio Rats, who reviewed it and talked about it, have made it look very similar. In fact, he uses the word simple several times. And then it's got the expression pedal on there as well, so you can do a lot of different things with that. You can plug it into the computer too if you want to. Will I do that? Probably not, but it's a possible. Will I ever do more than my iPhone and actually plug into an interface and do better recordings? A very small maybe. Probably not. A small maybe, but if I do, then that is a good forum, a good piece of kit to do it. It's also got a built-in tuner and a built-in looper as well, so it's kind of got a bit of everything. So I'm just keeping my eye out for one of those at the moment, used here in the UK between 100 and about 150 pounds. So yes, when I've sold the rest of my pedals, I've sold 3 of them. When the rest of them go, it probably won't quite cover the cost of that processor board, but it'll somewhere close. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So that's amp, processor board, guitars. How about actually learning to play? God, I've talked about this, haven't I, so much. But I'm going to do Jason Stallworth's Metal Apprentice course. It's about $50. I just fancy that as something different, which is why I want a guitar with a bit more meat on it in terms of sound, just for something a bit different. As for proper learning, I still have aspirations of getting a bit of theory behind me and progressing on, and I will at some point. I don't know, just too many things get in the way, and you just get stuck in a rut, don't you? Doing a few things that you do. I mean, an awful lot's happened this year. So I moved from where I live in Leamington, well, I used to live in Leamington Spa, Royal Leamington Spa, born and bred, over to be with Sarah about 6 weeks ago. So we're living together now. I've recently proposed, as you know, so we're getting married. We're going on a holiday in a week or so's time. My first holiday abroad for 13 years. How's that happened? Don't know, but it has. And we've now booked a date for the wedding, which is going to be in October. In the meantime, the house here is being sold, and we've got a joint mortgage sorted between us, all grown-up stuff, to buy a new house, and that's put an offer on somewhere, and that's kind of going through as well as we speak. So there's an awful lot of stuff going on, and as you know as well, around the end of last year, beginning of this, I started a new job, which, yeah, looks like wasn't quite maybe the right job to go to. Anyway, so lots happening. So there we go. And I know, let's just go back to the Chapman guitar things. I never used to like reverse headstocks, and I don't know, they've just grown on me. I've had 151 guitars. It's a lot of guitars. There's still plenty of other ones, and I'd stick to similar shapes a lot of the times. I'm kind of a Strat and a Teddy man, not so much a Les Paul. Proper angular metal guitars aren't really for me. I've had the odd semi-hollow. So there probably are a few different shapes of things that I wouldn't mind giving a go at some point. But to all intents and purposes, I sort of like the basic traditional ones really, mostly. So Chapman's for me have just given me a slightly different spin on that. They're sort of modern takes, aren't they, on old classics. This is a good example of that. And you get a lot for your money. Yes, this one's at £1,000 is an awful lot of money to pay. I'm not going to be selling that anytime soon, so it doesn't really matter. And you might argue that £1,000, is that too much for it? Maybe not. Don't know. Who knows? But you do get a lot for your money, and they just give me a little bit of something different, and I've been enjoying them. And Rob Chapman's Marmite for some people, but for the however many things he may or may not have done wrong in his life, we've all done plenty of those, haven't we? Overall, he's a charitable guy. I like how he's with his family, and he's quite a fun chap, and he's a good musician, isn't he? For someone who's not made it into the mainstream, he's done really well with the talents he's got and the bands that he's played in and stuff. So hats off to him. He's just a working man, isn't he? He's done good. So there we are. That is the update.